So, in other words, it worked. You can cure a cancer patient if you remove the causes. Now that in itself is not believable in a clinical setting, because you see, they had been using this rationale. It was obvious to them that if you find a carcinogen and you remove it, you should get some improvement. Whereas I was removing my fasciolopsis and seeing not just improvement, but actual cure. It was easy to kill the parasite and the malignancy would be gone if you killed it completely. And that's why in my earliest books, I had everybody on a maintenance program to make sure that that parasite stayed killed completely. You could be cured and stay cured as long as that condition was met. But you could not remove a carcinogen, any one of the 10,000, and get even a remission. So that little flaw in the argument, wasn't lost by clinical and regular scientists, but instead of pursuing the logic of it, they made excuses for it, saying, well, once you start a cancer, you can't stop it. Once a cancer, always cancer. See, that's the kind of an argument that belongs to the arena of religious myths. That's not the way to think scientifically, to find a rationalization. Because then, the next time you find something that doesn't fit, you rationalize it again in some other way. And you can rationalize anything if you make up some definition that suits you to the explanation that you want. So here we are all believing now that once a cancer, always a cancer. Not at all true. You can cure it easily. And by cure, I mean permanently. And the reason that I know is that I'm using, of course, live people. They know if they have a cancer or not. They go to their oncologist. They know if they have a cancer or not. We don't have to do any diagnoses or treatments or any special kind of biopsying. We don't have to do that. But after finding that it was in the water, I wanted to know what it was in the water. Wouldn't that intrigue you just the same way? That's because I basically have a layman's mindset. Things have to make sense. They don't have to be very sophisticated and complicated. And when they are, you go at it more methodically, but you just have a basic sense of what's reasonable. And I had already found the PCBs, and I thought, that must be it. And it participates. But if I take it away, the cancer patient isn't cured. It doesn't take away the malignancy. So I abandoned that. I went after benzene. I had to abandon that as the cause. It contributes, no doubt, but it's not the cause. I went to asbestos. I went to each of the 5 big immunity destroyers, which is the way I described them in older books. I have a set of azo dyes, which are all known carcinogens, but it wasn't one of them, or all of them. I went to my set of heavy metals, which is a combination of all the metals in amalgam, 40, and the heavy metals, and an extra number. So I had about 60 heavy metals in my set that I was testing for, and it wasn't them. It wasn't malonic acid. Wheel-bearing grease came rather close because it has nickel, but I couldn't find it. And without doing quite a bit more work, because the metals I did not have in my set were the metals I could not order. Well, which do you suppose they would be? There's no way that you could order a radioactive element, and that's where it was. It turned out to be polonium. And I made that announcement, I believe, about a half a year ago when I had finished doing my experiments, because in that kind of experiment, I would find, first of all, that the cause, in this case polonium, which is what I was studying, was present in every tumor and in every non-tumor of a cancer patient. Now, that doesn't mean it's not present in others, but what it means is that when I take it away, the malignancy will go away. That's asking a lot, because if you have a mindset that once a malignancy, always a malignancy, you couldn't set that for a standard even. You wouldn't even begin that way. But that is the way I began, because I had already seen it with Fasciolopsis fusci. It's just that I wanted to know what the water had to do with it, because they were not getting Fasciolopsis fusci larvae from their water. There had to be another cause, and it was coming from the water, because if we took the water away, we could cure the patient easily in Mexico. Maybe not so easily if you were advanced and had clinical symptoms, terrible clinical symptoms, but if it was an early case, it would be very easy. Not so easy for them at home, because they would have to change their water, right? And that's what we did. We required every patient to change their water at home. And if they didn't, they would go downhill again and eventually, of course, get cancer again. It wouldn't take too long. But if they didn't, they would always succeed. And I did keep those statistics. And that was enough to keep a person pretty motivated, because that is important for the whole world. And at this point, we were seeing the spread of the use of this bad disinfectant all over the world. And in fact, first of all of Africa. A very heart-rending experience to know that it's the water they're drinking that is giving them their disease, and not being able to do anything about it. Although I tried perhaps for 5 years engaging many people to help me to get the good NSF quality sodium hypochlorite to get to Africa. And now it is there. But systems get entrenched. Systems get entrenched. In fact, since I've been following the use of disinfectant in water all these years, I've only seen a switch twice in a water department. In other words, they get a good contract, and they're happy with that contract, and it stays that way if it's coming from the city. But of course, adding on filters or water softeners, they're all the same. It doesn't matter what you change to, except if by luck you would get that 5% good ones. And I have not seen a single water softener yet that didn't have the non-food grade bleach used in it. Of course, there the argument is, oh, well, you don't drink this, it only goes through the hot. Very, very bad thinking. What's in the hot is in the cold when it comes to a radioactive element. Imagine if you had plutonium coming through one faucet, wouldn't it get through the whole house? Yes, and even in the roof. Everywhere. Something like that gets everywhere.